This is Tim from the Learning Center at East Central College, and today I have 3 quick tips for MLA citations. Tip number 1, research and writing are separate tasks. Do them separately. I see students, and I know I've done this before, sit down and they're going to write a paper, and they've got a bunch of books out, and they're writing at the same time as they're looking up quotes that they want to use. It really works best to do these things separately. It takes maybe a little more time, but the result is much better. You'll get clearer writing, you'll get better research because you're not splitting your brain in two to do the things at the same time. The other reason that I think this works really well is tip number 2, which is once you decide to use a source, do the citation right away. If you're like me, doing the works cited page is one of the worst parts of writing something. And the fact that it's so hard is a great reason not to do it at the end of the paper. Some people want to do it at the end because it's the last thing in the paper, right? So it should be the last thing you do, but you can do it right up front. So when you find a source that you want to use, when you're doing that research separately and you find a source that you want to use, or maybe you think even that you're going to use it, do the citation right then. Find the style or the formatting of the citation that you're going to use, put it in right then. If you're not going to use it, like let's say you sit down to write the paper and it just doesn't fit in there, that's fine. Maybe you'll use it in the future so you can keep it, but even if you don't, at least you don't have to sit at the very end when you're sick of the paper, if you're like me anyway. You're sick of the paper, you're sick of the topic, you're sick of the sources, and you got to sit there and do the references page. When you do that references page, use good guides. I would suggest that the highest level of guide for MLA format is the MLA, the book. So the the handbook or the style book. I would suggest you buy one, especially if you're studying in the humanities, if you're, say you're going to be an English major at a 4-year or a philosophy major, any of those places that you're going to be using the MLA guide a lot, I would just buy it. I think it's well worth it, and it's not that expensive. I think it's like $12.99 on Amazon. Not that expensive, and it's the best guide. Second level of guides would be just about any website with a .edu domain. So the Purdue OWL is one that I usually recommend, and I think most people recommend it. It is a great source. It does have a lot of text, but once you get used to using it, it's very easy to use, to navigate. And in some ways, I think it's even set up quite a bit better than the MLA handbook is. The third level of things that I would use or suggest using are things like EasyBib, Citation Machine. EBSCO has a way that they'll give you the citation right away. I think that these citation machines, whatever you want to call them, they work better for MLA than they do for other formats, but they're not perfect. There still will be mistakes in the formatting. And so if you have an instructor who's very picky about MLA formatting, I would really stay away from that kind of bottom level of stuff. If you do use that stuff, always make sure that you check the citation, and that's really the issue. If you have to check the citation, at some point it's almost going to be easier just to do it yourself. The new MLA style is pretty easy to use, pretty easy to get a hold of. And if you ever have questions or if you want to make sure that everything is done right, here's a bonus tip. Use a writing tutor. We can help you make sure that everything is right and in order. You can make an appointment if you have a really limited schedule, but you can also just drop in anytime that you want to. Say you've got a class that cancels or something like that. We can help you with this stuff. We have a bunch of really helpful guides that we've made ourselves that we can give you. I think it's a great way to make sure this stuff is right. Thanks for staying with me. Thanks for listening. And please let me know if you have any questions. I'm in the Learning Center.